Welcome to the Middleware Tech YouTube channel. In this series, you'll learn about Java Bean class. All code examples used in the videos will be available on GitHub. Let's get started.
Class. So what is this Bean class? Why I use Bean class in Java, and how to use a Bean class, we'll try to explore. So if I want to initialize an object, what I'm using, first I use constructor. We talked about like constructor is used to initialize an object attribute, right? Object initialization. When I say object initialization, when I say object initialization, then we'll say that object initialization, we use constructor. Constructor is used to initialize an object attribute. Second point, if I want to initialize we can use a static block. Static block also used to initialize object static data member, right? Now I'm talking about Bean class. Bean class has two major point. Now we'll talk about Bean class based on objects initialization point of view. So Bean class is also used to initialize an object attribute. Now it is also used to implement encapsulation. I'll come data hiding. I'll talk about them after some time. Step by steps I'll move. So fine. So now I'm talking about Bean class based on object initialization point of view. So first point about Bean class, we'll say like any class that have instance variable, and its getters and setters is called a Bean class. I've just written one statement about Bean class. Any class that have instance variable and its getters and setters is called a Bean class. Fine. Okay. So what does it mean by this? So just see here. I'm writing one class product. So this is a product class. Fine. So inside this product class, I'm writing one instance variable int product ID, string product name, and then string product description. So we have total 3 instance variable inside this product class. And I'll take 2 instance variable. It's fine for the timing. Now what I'm saying is that any class that have instance variable and its getters and setters is called a Bean class. Okay, one line statement. So in this class, product class, I have instance variable the instance variable, right? Already talked about. Any variable that is declared inside a class, outside method is called an instance variable. And it's getters and setters. So how these getters look like? So this is instance variable. How these getters and setters look like? So I'm just writing getters for prod ID and prod name. Getters. So just see here, public int get prod ID, right? And return prod ID. Prod ID. So if you see, I've just written one getters for product ID. So public access specifier int is the return type. Get prod ID. After get, you are using the instance variable only, and it is returning prod ID. Similarly, I can write product name. Product name is a string, right? So public string get prod name, and it is returning the product name. Return prod name. Fine. So we have, if you see here, I've just written the getters. So if you see, it is a method only. Method have a return type. It's a method only, an access specifier. So both are method, but there is special type of method that will why special type of method? If you see, both the method starting with the name called get, and after get you are writing that instance variable name only. The first character should be capital as per API specification. So there is special type of method that is starting with the name called get, and after that you are adding the instance variable name. And the purpose of this getter is to return the attribute value. Fine. Okay. This is how we write getter. Now we have another one method that is called setter. Setters. How these setters look like? Setters look like this. I'm writing the setters for prod ID. Public void set prod ID. Fine. Int PID. Since it is used to initialize an object attribute, so you can use here like prod ID equal to PID. Fine. This is used to initialize product ID, right? And it has return type is void. Similarly, you can create a setter for product name also. So how it will look like? Public void set prod name. Fine. Okay. So inside the set prod name, what we'll do is that you can write here string prod name, and here prod name equal to, assume it is p name, make it as p name. Fine. So inside your product class, you have instance variable and its getters and setters, right? So just now I told you that any class that have instance variable and its getters and setters is called a bean class. So this is one bean class. Product is one bean class that we have given the definition like this, right? Right? Okay. Though in framework level, this bean class. So okay. So another one properties is inside a bean class. Now this bean class I'm talking about. The perspective of all the instance variable inside a bean class must be private. This instance variable will be private. Okay, so this private is another access specifier. So if you make a particular variable as private, then it will not be accessible outside this class. If you make a particular method as private, then you cannot access that method outside the class. Okay, so using this private specifier, we hide the details about a particular object, attribute, and method inside that object. So I'm not going into that data hiding concept now. For the time being, I'm going to define the bean class. So I'll talk about from that perspective now. So inside a bean class, all the instance variable must be private. So if I make it private, then what will be the advantage? We'll talk about later when you talk about data hiding. For the time being, I'm just writing the property instance variable must be private. The point is that what is, I mean, I'm talking about bean class now from only one perspective, that bean class is used to initialize an object attribute. It is also used to initialize an object attribute. It is used to initialize an object attribute. So let's see how we can use bean class to initialize an object attribute. Let's see here. So this is your bean class product. It's a bean class that have instance variable and getter setters, right? So let me remove some space just to make it in the same page. We have instance variable, we have getter setters. Fine. Now what I'll do is that inside the class, I'm going to write here main method. Fine. Public static void main string args. So inside this class, what we'll do is I'm going to create an object of product e equal to new product. So what we have done, we have created an object, we created product object. Object is this one. This is an object. This is an object, new product. And this is a product P reference. This is a reference. And when this reference is pointing out this object, then we say that P is an object. P is actually reference, it's not an object. When this P point out this object, new product, then we say that P is an object. Now, what is the status inside this P? Status means what is the variable value? By default, instance variables are by default initialized. So prod ID is 0, correct? And prod name is null inside this object, right? Fine. Now what I want to do, I'm saying that bean class setter method is used to initialize an object attribute. How it is? So I'm using here p dot set prod ID. p dot set prod id, assume 22, and then p dot set prod name, and use some name like iPod. So what you have done using this setter, you have initialized an object attribute, right? So in this line, what is the status? In this line, product ID become 22. Product name is null. The next line, what is the status? Next line, prod ID become 22 and prod name is iPod. Fine. Now we have created this object. We have initialized this object using setters, right? So the thing is that we can use parameterized constructor also to create initialize an object. Now when we have less attribute, then you can use setter to initialize an object attribute. If you have a more attribute, if you are working on some ERP applications, you'll find that in a particular class you find 45 attribute, 50 attribute. In that case, better to go with constructor. Fine. So here I'm using setter to initialize an object attribute, right? Fine. Now using getters, I can get those object attribute value. So how to call this getter? Just print system.out.println, and here I'm printing this. I'm calling this getter. So how can call p dot get prod id, get prod id, fine, plus then I can write here p dot get prod name, fine, right? So using getters I can get object attribute value, and using setters I can initialize an object attribute value for a bin class. So let's see it is working or not. So copy, and I'm going to execute it. So I suggest everyone please execute in your system. Without execution it will not work. Product class, so file save as product.java, save it. So when I've created product.java, I have to compile and run. Java C product.java compiled. Now I'm going to run it, Java product, and it is working fine, right? Okay. So if you see this code, we have used setter to initialize an object attribute and getters to get that attribute value from this object, right? So that's why the bin class is used. Using bin class setter method, I can initialize an object attribute value. Now we have another one concept that is called a data hiding. Let me talk about here itself. Bin class have another one important features that using bin class we will implement data hiding. It is actually not using bin class. Using bin class we implement encapsulation. Okay, so So we'll talk about it later after some time, not now. So I've just defined this bean class definition partially. So like any class that have instance variable and its getters and setters is called a bean class. Bean class, all instance variables are private. Using this bean class setter method is used to initialize an object attribute, and you can get the details using getters method. Right? Okay. Fine. Now here we have one. Let me talk about it separately. We have one concept